The new General's Handbook has introduced a new battalion for shooting enemy characters and winning you games. Let's look at the top 10 best ones. Hello, I'm Rob from The Honest Wargamer, and Age of Sigmar is a tabletop miniatures game made by Games Workshop. You play with dice and rules and, tape measures and your mates, and sometimes you play on your own, but only when you're sad. Age of Sigmar has its new season's GHB, which we covered in this video here, and it's got some spicy changes. Every 6 months, Games Workshop changes the rules on how to play the game. Not completely, they just make a new season, and this is all located in the GHB. In this season's GHB, which runs from January to July 2023, characters in your army can't be targeted by missile weapons. You see, this is the time of the Galician champion, heroes who fought through the vicious wilds and terrible battles in the realm of Gur and become the linchpin in their army. In the game, those heroes can help you score additional points or hold objectives over your opponent. This is a brand new thing to this season, which is quite exciting, and killing those heroes might be the difference between victory and the saddest time of your life. However, don't worry. They've released a battalion that lets you turn some of your shooting units into sharpshooters, which means you can ignore the rule not letting you normally target those Galician champions. So let's look at the 10 best sharpshooters that you can take in the sharpshooter battalion this season. However, before we get started, pause the video, write your guesses in the comments. Want to see if you can guess which ones they are. I've actually guessed all of them correctly, so that's literally what this video is. My 10 best guesses. So at number 10 is a wild card, but I have my reasons. It's Mooncan shooters for the Gloomspite Gits. When you think goblins, you don't think elite snipers, but you can get a lot of shots in this army. In fact, if you take 130 shooters, which is only going to cost you 175 points, you can get 260 shots. Now, sure, it's 4s and 5s. It's a lot of low quality shots, but you can add Ren to the army. You can even strip the enemy of their armor saves with Troll Vomit. I think this video is making me sick if I'm honest, but there we go. Quantity is definitely its own quality at number 10. Storming in at number 9 are some OG Stormcast Judicators with Skybolt bows. Released in the first wave of Stormcast. When the game was initially released 6 years ago, they're a solid shooting unit at decent range that could be put into a sharpshooter battalion. A unit of 5 with 2 shots each and D6 plus 1 for the champion at 24 inches and mortals on 6s to hit is a nice solid profile. 10 wounds on a 4-up save and being one of the least offensive units in your hyper elite Stormcast army means they won't be targeted and therefore are a little bit more survivable. While not the best Stormcast unit in this roster as the role of a sharpshooter, they still outclass other factions units, meaning we didn't see units like Bloodstalkers Archers, Shadow Warriors or Endred Riggers. Splashing in at number 8 is the Namati Riva for the Idoneth Deepkin. They're blind elves who shoot arrows through water. They come in units of 10 and shoot 2 shots each at 18 inches, and with a movement for 8 inches for an effective 26 inch. From turn 2, the unit can run and shoot, and being battle line units mean you can take multiple reinforced units of them. They do have some Ren to punch through enemy armor, but very much like the shooters, it's all about the quality being the quantity, and also obviously shooting through water while they're blind. That's obviously a quality. In at number 7, a unit that has really split the player base, the Gossipid Archers for Sylvaneth. They're a very unique unit in Age of Sigmar because they fulfill the role of a skirmisher archer archetype really well, but we've very rarely seen units match that archetype thanks to the rules. Coming in units of 5 at a hefty points cost, they move and shoot 12 inches, giving them an effective 24-inch range. The bows shoot 2 shots each, and any 6s to hit do D3 mortal wounds. So a good roll and you'll kill any Galician champion. However, their weapon range only being 12 inches means they're quite close. However, they have an amazing little rule to make it so they can avoid being charged down and killed. Using the Zephyrite Spites ability, they can retreat on a 2+ when someone charges them and they've unleashed hell. This keeps them safe from being charged and allows them to keep sniping. Just don't roll a 1. They also work really well inside the Sharpshooters battalion, being able to pair quite nicely with 2 units of Tree Revenants. Just don't be a sap and let them die. Because it's a Sylvaneth army, you see. Camouflaging themselves in at number 6 are the Chameleon Skinks. They should probably be replaced with their less sneaky brother, pod friend. They should be replaced with normal skinks, but it's kind of a sharpshooters video and they're sneaky and it kind of feels like what they're meant to do. So they're going in because they're cooler. They're a little bit more survivable as a unit because they can deep strike, which means you can't hit them until you put them on the board. And when you do put them into cover, they gain a 4+ ward. However, as with most units in this list, it's all about the damage. And their blowpipes, which shoot 16 inches, are pretty good. I'd like you to note that several weapons in this list are quite short range, definitely shorter than 16 inches, which a tiny amphibian skink has been able to blow. It's not relevant really to the list, and it's adding a lot of time onto the video I shouldn't be doing, but it's important to... It keeps me up at night. That's all it just makes me mad. Coming in at units of 5. They have 2 shots each and they do mortals on 6s to hit. You can also make it so that they do mortals on 6s to wound. Really, it's their ability to be sneaky and deep strike and get into places you weren't expecting that gets them this high up the list. Sneaking their way into the 5th place slot is maybe the oldest sculpt in the world. Gutter runners. Sneaky ninja rats with poisoned attacks. Coming in units of 5, they get 3 shots each at 12 inches, but they can run and shoot and move 7 inches, so they have an effective range of 20 inches. However, they can be set up in reserve, and this is where they shine. 5 25mm bases are very hard to screen. 15 shots that do mortals on 6s is actually quite a scary prospect, especially because they're very cheap, and therefore they're fairly expendable. However, you can reinforce this unit up to a unit of 15, meaning they average out to about 7 or 8 mortal wounds, which will probably kill almost any Galician champion. At number 4 is a unit that just has delusions of grandeur, but just stinks up the place. Man Skewer Ballboys. Also just known as Ballboys, they definitely could skewer a man. They mainly skewer a man's hopes to win a game at the moment. Coming in units of 3, they have an effective range of 27 inches or 20 inches because you always take them in big yellow subfaction for +3 inches to the range of their bows. Sidebar, and this is where it actually gets really interesting. Instead, you could take them in the sub-faction grid plates. This means that you can't be seen from outside of 12 inches, or you can't be targeted from outside of 12 inches, which means your Galician champions will be safe from the enemy sharpshooters, while you will be able to shoot their Galician champions because you'll be in the sharpshooter battalion. That said, Cruel Boys have one of the lowest win rates in all of Age of Sigmar right now. However, we're going to ignore that for big orcs shoot big arrows big well. They have 2 profiles. The shorter range has 2 shots each, and any 6s to hit are going to do 2 mortal wounds. However, you can buff this massively with a Swamp Caller Shaman, giving them a poisoned elixir, and that means that they're going to do 2 mortal wounds for every 5 to hit. If you put a Sludge Raker nearby, then any 6 to hit is now going to be 3 mortal wounds, and any 5 to hit is going to be 2 mortal wounds. The issue for this unit is survivability. They have 2 wounds each and an abysmal save and also very low bravery. You kind of want to run these as a castle with screening units, only this is less of a castle and more of a paper bag. While they've actually made it to number 4 on the sharpshooter list, they were actually a topic of conversation about damage, good and bad damage, in my last video, if you want to go check it out. In at number 3 are the backing dancers for the best band in the mortal realms, Morathi and the Bowsnakes. Bloodstalkers, or Bowsnakes, as we know them, are so good that they win whole games without ever needing to be inside a sharpshooter battalion. Coming in units of 5 and normally being taken in units of 15, they have 2 attacks each and do mortal wounds on 6s to hit, averaging about 5 mortal wounds. They shoot 24 inches and they move 8 inches, giving them an effective range of 32 inches. They have access to a teleport ability, extending the range even further, but really it's their lead singer Morathi that really increases their damage. She has a command ability that allows the big block of Bowsnakes to shoot in the Daughters of Cain hero phase. That means up to 60 shots being shot a turn. This is an amazing amount of output, and the army is always within arrow shot of being able to win a tournament. However, you do invest a lot of points in those Bowsnakes and a lot of points in Morathi. In at number 2 is the unit that has ruined the game we love for far too long. Vanguard Raptors with long strike crossbows, or long strikes as they're known. The long strike crossbow has a range of 30 inches, and the unit moves 5 inches, giving them an effective 35-inch range. 2 attacks each from a unit of 3 makes for 6 attacks. That, with the all-out attack command ability, hit on 2s and wound on 2s. With rend 2 and damage 2, and any 6s to hit are going to be 2 mortal wounds. That's some very high reliability, which is exactly what you want from the best units in the game. Stormcast get access to a unique set of enhancements called Holy Commands. I guess these really should be unholy commands, because that's what it feels like when they shoot you. One of the holy commands is Thunderbolt Volley, and it lets an unreinforced unit shoot in the hero phase once per battle. This means even a small unit of 3 long strikes can do up to 10 to 12 damage at 30 inches in one of the turns of the game, against a 2-up armor save. What we're saying is, like, they just kill stuff, like, very well. The issue with this unit is that it's fragile. With 6 wounds on a 4-up save for a unit of 3, they can, like our gutter runners, be set up off the board in deep strike, which is really effective for making it so that they won't get hurt in the early turns until you want to use them. However, the Stormcast roster is pretty elite, and you want it to be doing as much damage each turn as possible. So you're normally going to keep them on the board, and that 30-inch range is going to mean that they're very effective and still in relative safety. For the number 1 slot, and I'm sure you've already guessed who it is, I would like to tell you that we have a Patreon. It'd be really great if you could help support the show. We're trying really hard to put out really competent and quality content, and I'm hoping you're really enjoying it. Thank you to everyone who already supports us. Now let's get on with the list. In at number 1, easily the best, and no surprise to veterans of the game, are these representations of class inequality, the bloody elves, our Venari Sentinels. These have so many things going for them. They shoot 24 inches and they move 6 inches, giving them an effective range of 30 inches. However, if they're near another unit with a Skyhawk Lantern, like another unit of Sentinels, they can add an additional 6 inches to the range of their bows. This now takes us up to 36 inches. But wait, there's more. You can cast a spell on them to double the move, making it 42-inch threat range. There's a spell to teleport them too, and all these spells can be done by one of the best casters in the game. The actual weapon profile is pretty nutty too. They do mortals on 6s to hit. However, you can bless the weapons so they do mortals on 5s. And for defensive buffs, they're very survivable. Number 1, they're dealing damage at a significant range. They're also -1 to hit, thanks to Chameleon Company. They can be given a 5-up ward save, and they can add multiple pluses to their save rolls. They already fit into an army the way it likes to play as well. Multiple units of Sentinels are very common in lots of tournament lists. And when not being used in a Sharpshooter battalion to shoot Galician champions, they're just used to shoot, anything else that's alive. Not for long, probably. Just keep shooting. That's all they do. They are the absolute winner. And congratulations to them and all of the Lumineth players. Okay, so my final thoughts. The top 3 are significantly better than the others because they have the ability to punch through armor with the mortal wounds. Also, we did a review in the last video, again, link up there, where we talked about damage and how we review damage. It's all about the threat range, the damage output, and the survivability of the unit that's really helped inform why we've looked at these units as being the way they are in the top 10. We should also talk about the battalion itself, because when you do take units in the Sharpshooter battalion, this means you're unlikely to be a 1-drop. A 1-drop means you get the choice on whether or not you get to go first in probably about 70% of the matches. This means if you have something like a 1-drop Alpha Strike list, you're going to be able to destroy the enemy units before they can engage with you. I think it's probably unlikely we see a lot of Sharpshooter battalions be taken in this General's Handbook. However, maybe we will. It really depends on how much Galician champions are going to affect the scoring, and it's slightly too early in the game right now to say. So, will you take the Sharpshooter battalion? I legitimately have been looking at it a lot. I think some of the other battalions have got some real flex and being able to develop some really strong, interesting combos in the game, and we're obviously going to cover that in other videos. But I'd like to know what you think, so write down your best lists with Sharpshooter battalions in the comments if you get the chance, because I'd love to see them. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, you can definitely support me on Patreon. Thanks for being honest wargamers.